The Treasure of Tayopa is a 1974 neo-western directed by Bob Cawley. It's set in the modern day, but that's almost irrelevant once the treasure hunters are out in the desert and it becomes a timeless tale about the lure of greed and the folly of men. Filmed in the deserts of the American Southwest, Tayopa stars Rena Winters, Gilbert Roland, and Phil Trapani. Somewhere out in the desert is an undiscovered treasure worth millions, dismissed as a myth by some, pursued by others to their dying day. A young woman assumes her departed father's search, along with her lawyer and 2 helpers he found off the street. They navigate the desert and its many dangers, but the greatest threat to their group is from within. Will they find the treasure, or will they be consumed by madness? So basically this movie's The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, with a couple of differences. It's set in the 1970s, with fewer side quests. Definitely lower budget, but the same themes. It's got bandits, but no village. And it's got The Legend of Tayopa, which is narrated to the audience over sketched recreations. It's an effective and affordable remedy, since they didn't have the resources to attempt to recreate the massacre of the monks on screen. But it's not just the budget that the filmmakers have to overcome. The movie's actual plot's very short, barely a campfire tale. When the story does kick in, the bare-bones plot really sticks out. The banditos are stereotypical, both in the racially offensive way and the lazy writing way. And the main actors are all at different performance styles, like they've been pulled from 3 different movies. The lawyer's a non-actor, but at B-movie standards, he's there for exposition. Catherine, the boss, is played restrained, but a strong presence, reminiscent of Barbara Stanwyck in The Big Valley. Sally, the unhinged henchman that carries around his favorite crossbow, goes for a 70s American New Wave intensity, somewhere between Dennis Hopper and Nicolas Cage. He's odd, but he wakes up the movie. As for grindhouse thrills, there's a skinny dipping scene starting around minute 42. Not just the boss lady, but our boy named Sally also appears in his Altogether. He tries to take it to the next level with her, but the movie doesn't quite go that far. There are 6 or 7 on-screen or slightly off-screen deaths by gunshot, rock, machete, and crossbow. And given how fake those deaths look, that rattlesnake that gets gutted long ways around minute 74 had to be for real. Also, the movie starts with a cockfight, and somebody pushes a horse.
Nobody pushes my horse.
The actors may have been fresh, but the folks behind the camera knew their stuff. The desert looks majestic in 16mm film, and the editing team rolls out all the tricks to augment the time passages. The soundtrack complements the team's wanderings with a combination of Spanish guitarra music and 70s folk songs. Some of the songs written by the director. Considering the background of director Bob Cawley, it's no surprise how strongly the music works within the film. Cawley grew up in Columbus, Ohio, coming up through the big band scene. His career really blossomed with the advent of television in the 50s, where he found work as a band leader for variety shows, for artists such as Kate Smith and Frankie Carl. He'd make his way to Hollywood, working as a TV producer and director. Television became his life's work across 5 decades. Rena Winters first came to Hollywood in the 50s to start an acting career, but casting directors thought she was too tall to pair with their leading men. She found more opportunities as a TV writer and producer, working on shows featuring Jerry Vale, Peter Marshall, Frank Sinatra, and Nina Bryan, even the Smurfs. Rena Winters married Bob Cawley in 1966, 8 years before Tayopa's release. The opening narrator is played by a most interesting man in the world, Gilbert Roland. His velvet tones allowed him a smooth transition from silent film star to the talkies. A go-to for the role of the Latin lover, Roland was also the Cisco Kid for 6 films in the 40s. Roland was nominated for a Golden Globe for his role in Vincent Minnelli's The Bad and the Beautiful. Treasure of Tayopa would be Cawley's only trip to the grindhouse, and a bit of a detour in his career. He and Winters would resume their TV work throughout the 80s. But they would make their home in the desert, semi-retiring to the Las Vegas area. And for them, semi-retirement meant new careers as teachers, columnists, and novelists of mysteries and thrillers. The Treasure of Tayopa is a wander through the desert. Too slow for some audiences, but it looks good, and filmmakers find some creative workarounds for their limitations. It's a familiar story, even if you don't recognize the movies that it's cribbing from. So watch this film not for the tale, but how they're telling it. Kick back in your air conditioning and take in the desert sun.
Sin cesar de la sierra,